I'm in a Tesla again, but actually this is not my Tesla, because my Tesla is right there. So what Tesla am I in? Well, here's a little clue for you. It's a red Model Y Performance that I just picked up for a review from Tesla Okeechobee here. So thank you very much to Tesla Okeechobee for letting me review the car and floor it a little bit like this, which is super fun still, since it's a performance. It has this insane power delivery straight from the get-go. The first impressions here when I'm driving this is I sit a lot higher than I do in the Model 3, and that's like a pretty obvious comment to make when you jump from a Model 3 to a Model Y. I feel like it's just as I've just taken a couple of corners now, but it feels very sporty for an SUV, and that just makes sense if you look at the numbers, because from the crash tests, for example, you have the NHTSA, I think it's called, the agency that does the crash test and rollover percentages. They did a test on this, obviously, and the rollover percentage for the Model Y is 7.9% in their tests. Now, to put that in perspective, the Volvo XC90, which is considered to be one of the safest SUVs on the market today, that has a rollover percentage of 17.9%. So 7.9 for the Model Y, 17.9 for the XC90, which is just amazing. So this center of gravity in this car is extremely low, thanks to, of course, everything that's heavy being put to as low as possible in this car. And you can really feel that. It's weird because you sit this high up here, but at the same time it feels like a very, very sporty car. It feels like it's not supposed to feel like this, if that makes sense, since it's basically never been done before. So we're gonna head out to the park now and get some really cool shots and look at the exterior differences between the Model 3 and the Model Y. So can't wait to show you that. All right, guys, so here we are. We have the Model 3, which is mine right there, the white one, and we have the Model Y Performance. So let's have a look at the differences in design to start this off. First of all, I just love this red, because I've seen Model X's with a red, but it's more of a burgundy color. This looks more like more red than burgundy, if that makes sense. It's obviously a 2021 model, because you can see that since these are black now instead of chrome. You have black here, black door handles right here, and also black parts right here. And this little piece right here is also black. And you have the, let me see, I think these are the 21-inch wheels, which look absolutely fantastic. And of course, you have the red calipers here as well. Looking beautiful. I love the red. I didn't think I would really like the red, but it works with the red. And then you have the black wing as well, or spoiler, with the black wheels and the black accents all around the car. Now, of course, instead of chrome. So what is different here? Well, the parts for the two cars, they share about 75% of parts. So a lot of parts go in from they bounce back and forth. They go in both cars. You have, for example, the headlights is exactly the same, as you can see. And I'm not sure if the greenhouse itself or the windows are the exact same thing, but we have the headlights are the same, and of course the front end sits a little higher here on the Model Y, obviously, since it's an SUV. And when I was driving this over here, I felt like I was sitting a lot higher than I would expect just from a visual standpoint. It doesn't look that much higher than the Model 3, but when you're in it, it definitely feels like an SUV compared to the Model 3, which feels a lot lower and also a lot sportier. But also, as I said, the battery pack in the Model Y sits so low that the center of gravity is so low that you can't feel the height of the car, which is really cool. And I haven't really experienced that in an SUV, so that's well done by Tesla, keeping it sporty. I wish it had the white interior, because I wanted to see white interior, how it looks like. I haven't really seen it up close yet, but other than that, it's a clean looking car. And the big difference, of course, being that this right here is a sedan, while this over here is a hatch. So the whole back end just opens up. You can see the difference here in loading space and how much bigger and easier this is to load right here compared to the Model 3. So if you have a lot of stuff and if you travel a lot and need to put skis, snowboards, surfboards, whatever you want in your car, in your Tesla, then you're definitely gonna have to go with the Model Y compared to the Model 3. You can still fold the back seats here in the Model 3, but here they are electric. So all you gotta do, just push these, and you can see that they fold down super easy like that, and then you have this massive space in here to put whatever you want. Very cool. And also new for 2021, of course, is the automatic opening and closing hatch right there, and the trunk here as well on the 2021 Model 3. Different sound there. That's pretty interesting, something that I wasn't expecting, but you have different sounds in the trunk button for the Model 3 and the Model Y, even though they are the same year. Let's talk a little bit about the driving experience here with the Tesla Model Y. So this is obviously the performance model, and that means that we get 21-inch wheels and tires, and also the suspension sits almost half an inch lower. So it's just a tiny bit lower, but I think the setup with the suspension is a little different from what you get with the long range and the now discontinued standard range plus Model Y, and you can feel that. It feels a little stiffer, which it should, since it is a performance model. It's not uncomfortable, but it feels, you can definitely feel the road more through the chassis, and you can feel the vibration coming up through the tires and into the seat more than you can even with my car, which still has 20-inch wheels on it. But I think the suspension makes a big difference here when it comes to the long range and the performance. So if you're looking for comfort, what I would do, and you're in the market of a Model Y, is I would definitely test drive both the Model Y, the long range and the performance, and see which one you prefer, because there is a difference. And to me, you know, it would make a lot of difference, even though it is a little bit more harsher, this ride, than it is compared to a long range. But if you want more comfort, I would suggest you definitely go and try the long range. This sun is setting. There's been a wildfire over the Everglades this morning. So when we woke up, by the way, off on a tangent here, but when we woke up, there was hazy, almost like a very thick fog this morning, just because of the wildfires, which is crazy. But now the sun shouldn't be setting yet. So I think this darkness at 7:29 has a lot to do with the wildfires this morning, because it got dark pretty much at 5:30 today, which is really weird. But anyway, back to the ride quality of the Tesla Model Y. I think it's a great riding car, and it's a great driver's car as well, specifically when you think about that it actually is an SUV, such a high ride height. And I think that's what EVs do great. Because of the low center of gravity, you don't have a lot of mass very high up in the car, and that means that obviously the lower all the weight and the heavy stuff is in the car, the better handling the car is going to be. As I said, the rollover percentage in the tests, the Tesla Model Y actually had a 7.9%, which is unheard of in the SUV category for rollovers. And I compared it to the Volvo XC90, which is supposed to be, it is considered to be one of the safest SUVs. And in the same test, NHTSA test, it got 17.9% rollover chance or risk in their tests. So that's 10% higher than the Model Y. So if you're looking for a safe car, a sporty car, and a roomy car combined in one package, I think the Tesla Model Y is actually a really good choice. And I don't really know what else you would want from the Model Y. I get that the range anxiety, it is a thing, and it does exist, but I can tell you this: I have a Tesla Model 3 Standard Range Plus, and I thought about this before I bought the Tesla Model 3 as well. Like, am I gonna have to stress about the range every single day? And keep in mind that this performance here that has a lot, almost 60 or 70 miles more range than my standard range plus. And I'm fine. I'm totally fine when it comes to the range, and I don't have any anxiety gonna run out of range or something like that. I've never had that issue, and I don't think you will have either, honestly. You kind of get used to it after a while, and it becomes normal to go and charge every now and then. And what I do when I charge, what I've realized is that it's kind of quiet time for me, and I get time to think. So when I sit at the charger for 30 minutes, for example, for empty to full, what I do is I just plan out some days ahead, kind of what videos I want to make. Depends on what you're working on, definitely, and what your job is. But you can always have some productive time, or you can take a minute to listen to some podcasts and stuff like that. So it's not really a big deal. It's actually kind of nice to just take 30 minutes or something like that to focus on something that you need to get done. You can get that done while you're charging your car. So the range for this, I've been driving it all day today, and I started at, I think when I got it from Tesla Okeechobee, it was around 190 miles. We're down to 165 now, so I still have a long way to go before I even need to consider charging this car. So if you're looking for a daily commuter car, a daily driver, a long range or a performance are not going to be an issue when it comes to the range. The standard range plus Model Y is now discontinued, so that's not even an option anymore. But I think the long range and the performance, the differences in range is not going to matter that much. But what I think people will put weight on is the ride quality and the suspension setup, this being a little more stiffer than you might want or than you might be used to in other luxury SUVs. But at the same time, you get a sporty car, super great handling and great acceleration and all of that, so you get kind of everything in one package. If I had to choose between the long range and the performance, I think I would go with the performance, probably, because I like the look of this car. I love the Brembo brakes. I think that makes a huge difference. The red calipers, and also it sits a little lower than you have the long range. It's not much. It's barely half an inch lower, so it's not something crazy. But I think half an inch, it makes a big difference to the stance of this car. And I also love the 21-inch wheels on this car. It just fits the car, makes it look a lot nicer, and makes it planted, even though it is an SUV. So those are my thoughts on the driving. And also I want to mention the steering here. The steering feels a little heavier than what I have in my Model 3. I think that's a setting in there that you can add even more resistance to the steering, and I think that's what's been done here. I'm gonna have to double check that later when I get back home. But there are several steps in steering resistance that you can set for the Model Y. If you want it super sporty, super heavy, or if you want it super light and you can just steer with your pinky, you can do that if you want to as well. It's totally up to you. I kind of like this little heavy steering. One last thing, if you look at the Model 3 and the Model Y from the outside, the Model Y doesn't look that much higher than the Model 3, but when I'm in here now, I definitely feel like I'm sitting a lot higher than you would expect just looking at the two models side by side. So you really get this SUV feel in the Model Y, even though you might think so if you look at the design from the outside. It doesn't look like an off-roader, but when you're inside, you definitely feel that you're sitting in the same height as every other SUV, or actually even higher. I think the seats might even be elevated a little bit compared to how they're placed in the Model 3. So those are my thoughts on the driving experience. I hope it was helpful. If you're in the market for a Tesla Model Y, first of all, make sure you check out my referral link down in the description. You get 1,000 free supercharger miles, and so do I. So when you get your Tesla, you can go on a free road trip with your 1,000 miles. And also make sure you do test drive both the performance and the long range. I think that will definitely help you make up your own mind, because we all like different things. Some doesn't like the suspension in the performance, and I can totally see why it is a little rough sometimes. And sometimes some people just want the extra little range in the long range. That's about it. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one. Take care. All right, looks clear. So let's line it up here, and let's do a 0 to 60. I don't think there's anybody around here. It's pretty empty. All right, 3, 2, 1, go.